So right now, Will is getting ready to paint a Moulin Rouge FM3 1970 Cuda 340 automatic car. This is the very first paint car we've ever painted.
I'm pretty excited. We got a 1970 Cuda here, which is my favorite car, on top of the fact it is pink. Somebody back in the day painted the car white, but it was cool because there was still a lot of original pink in there that you could see, so when it came time to like color matching, stuff like that, you had a great reference for.
That car I knew was in bad shape. We had to get it disassembled right away and over to the dipper.
Okay, so the car was pretty much disassembled when it came to us. The drivetrain came in separately from the car, but I got to help my son Eli dismantle the car. We had to remove the windows, the door regulators, the fuel lines, brake lines, all the little fasteners prior to taking this car to the dipper. So everyone knows I had a 70 Barracuda Grand Coupe when Mark and I were growing up. It was lemon twist yellow, one of my favorite colors. But second to that would be Panther Pink or Moulin Rouge. I just absolutely love that color. Reminds me of ice cream.
This car in particular, before it got dipped, I wanted to kind of walk around it, check it out, see how much original color we had to work with before it went to the dipper. And we do have, the doors had some color on them, fenders had some color on them, so it was just kind of nice to just look at the car before it got sent off. Another cool factor with this car, it's actually an original coated FM3 Panther Pink car, or Moulin Rouge. A lot of people would maybe just go back and paint their cars pink. This car was built that way. Somebody painted it white. We're putting it back to pink, which is beyond amazing.
Like with all of our cars, I'm always curious what it's going to come back looking like. In the case of this Cuda, I could see so much stuff beforehand that I'm worried about the condition of it when it comes back.
Another reason I enjoyed working on this car so much is when I started working here, there were so many parts around here with the name Dowell on them. It related me to my mother's maiden name. That made the car especially special to me, was seeing my mother's maiden name all over the parts. And it's really a wonderful family. When they brought the drivetrain in, it was so nice to meet these people. Just really enjoyed working on this car.
When this car came back from the dipper, it was exactly what I thought, really bad shape. You notice the flies buzzing around me? There's a reason for that. That's because Will was doing his lit interviews here right before me, and they like, you know what I'm saying? They'll realize this is the angel dust over here. Well, not the, no. Anyway, that's why there's flies. That's the point. As I was saying, when the car came back, it was every bit as bad as I thought it was gonna be, maybe even worse. This car needed absolutely everything on it in the way of sheet metal, except for maybe 5 or 6 parts. That means George spent 8 weeks, hands-on, 40 hours a week, doing all the metal work on this car. Not to bore everyone to death with how many parts, but just to give you an example. So the parts that we replaced on this car: main floor, right and left step wells, under seat pan, trunk floor extensions, rear body panel reinforcement, rear cross member, both extensions, inner and outer wheel houses, left and right inner fenders, windshield opening all the way around, upper cowl panel, lower cowl panel, firewall, Dutchman panel, both quarter panels, and every bolt-on part to go with it. Literally, there were only a handful of parts that weren't replaced on it. We even ended up replacing, on the right-hand side, a section of the hinge pillar, and on the left-hand side, the entire hinge pillar. So in addition to the parts that we were able to replace, this Cuda had the same one that our black Hemi car had, that the most recent car we showed you had on that Charger. The inner structure of the roof was completely rotted. We had to hand fabricate 50 pieces to go in that thing. That's how we ended up with 8 solid weeks of metal work on that car. Is it all worth it? Absolutely. It's another car coming back from the grave.
Once all the metal work was complete, it was time for me to mix up a small amount, do a spray out, and see what we have for color, see if it's a good match. So I can look up the formula, and the first thing I do is I go to code. I hit search, and voila. It's interesting because Mitsubishi used this color in the 90s and it was a green. However, I'm looking for pink. So here we go. It's Panther Pink or Moulin Rouge. It's a 1970 only color. It's a Chrysler color, and the mixing code is DBC 2260. The prime means there's no alternate formulas. Some colors have a lot of different variants, selections to choose from. This particular color, there's only one. So I select that, hit enter, then it brings up the next menu. The next window is the toners itself, and this is the formula that makes up the color. I'm only doing a spray out, so I only need to mix up 16 ounces to see how it looks. Before I can mix the color, I just have to select the amount, and then I can mix it. I can select 1 ounce. The problem is when you make such a small amount, some toners don't even go in. So you actually need to make the 16 ounces. That way you're getting enough of each color and your color is gonna be more accurate at the end. It'll take approximately 3 gallons to paint the whole car. Once I have the amount already selected, I just print my label, go right back out to the mixing room and start mixing the paint. Before I start mixing colors, I get all the paint out that I'm going to use. In this circumstance, it's only 4 toners. First thing I do is zero out the scale and then start adding the first toner. So the first toners are 1679 red and it requires 215.5 grams. So the second color is also a red and it's 1692. We're going to use an accumulative formula, meaning the scale is going to count for us. So we take the 1692 to 398 grams. The next toner is 1684 white. And with the white, we take it to 495.3. So the last toner is 1609, which is a Quindo violet, which really gives you a real rich color. And we top that off at 538.1, and that's it. So this is the best part, is when you get all your toners in, you start stirring it up and you actually watch the color change to what it's supposed to be. Then at that point, we can just reduce it and we're ready to spray it out. This car had a lot of metal replaced on it. You know, we do our normal jam work when the car's apart. That way you can get reach to those areas. But we had to replace almost everything. When those quarters are off, it's nice to do the sound deadener. You have a nice, beautiful surface to work on. You apply that just like the way factory did. You have to let that sit overnight, because if you paint it too soon, it'll actually re-soften it and make a mess. You let that sit overnight, and then I go in, I put my base coat on, clear coat. A little bit longer of a process because it wasn't available in single stage, but the overall quality of work is 10 times better. Mark likes to overpaint with everything, and that's okay. When it comes to epoxies, sealers, all that stuff, we do it. But at this point, I can just have Noah take over. When you're jamming these cars, there's a lot to it. You just don't go in there and blow color in there. You gotta prep it. That means all those hard to reach spots have to be sanded, cleaned, actually ready for paint. All these areas have to be scuffed for adhesion. If you don't do that, your paint's not gonna stick. Once we got the panels all prepped, we get the color shooken up and then we're ready to go.
Okay, so I found out that this color was only available in 1970. And this was the first one that we did here in this Moulin Rouge color. It just made it so much more enjoyable to see this color so bright that we'd never seen before. Mark says the only reason that I love this color so much was because it was related to the Pink Panther movies. Well, yes, I mean, I did love the movies, but it also reminds me of ice cream.
I'm ready to start clearing. I use the 2002 clear. It's thick, high solids, great PPG product. So temperature's everything on these cars, and these camera guys know if it's 100 degrees, it's gonna be a 100-degree day, we gotta get in early and paint, because what'll happen is that paint's drying quicker than what you need it. These guys will come in at like 4 in the morning with me, you know, on hot days. So you like to be at 65 to 70, maybe even 80 degrees is kind of the sweet spot for that paint to dry. I like to be able to put a nice, even, beautiful first coat on, give it 20 minutes, give or take, and then go apply my second coat, wait 20 minutes, and then I'll apply my third.
See, more of that crazy stuff, right? You see it? He's all over the place. It's like watching a tennis match. Back and forth, he's jumping over the net. Just plant your feet, spread your wings, become ice cold, man. That jumping all over the place, that would be exhausting for me. He must feel like he ran a damn marathon. I haven't seen Forrest Gump didn't walk and run that much.
Pete, don't indulge him. You know so well my technique is good. You know what I do is great. Don't humor Mark with this. You're wasting my time. So despite all Mark's silliness, all that's behind us. He just likes to, get that camera time. The car is done. It looks amazing, and I couldn't be happier with it. He's sick. That's his problem. The car's perfect, and that's my problem. We cut and buff all of our cars. It takes little imperfections that everybody gets. A dirt nib, we really don't get any runs, but dirt, orange peel, it makes the car flat, it makes it look just like $1 million. We'll start with 800 grit on a longboard, block the whole entire car all that clear flat again. And then at that point, he'll grab his DA, take out the 800 with 1200, then he'll use 2000 to get out the 1200, then he'll use 3000 to get out the 2000. Then at that point, it's like a sheet of glass and it buffs in seconds. You know, every car is different. This particular car had undercoating from the factory, so we're just obviously going to duplicate that. As far as like a technical aspect, you can look at it and say, oh wow, that looks really easy. But there's a lot that goes into it. Making sure it looks good before you do anything. And a lot of people will put too much on to cover up butchery. We don't do that here. And the great thing is you have rotisseries. You have to turn these things almost upside down just to make sure you get every area. I like to put a nice, even, good, thorough coat, all parts and pieces and every angle to get the whole thing covered. That way, when the owner has the car or people see it at car shows, you can see the work that we did with nice, clean spot welds. Everything is very sanitary and it looks amazing.
So this is part of my job, is to get the upper control arms, lower control arms, all of the drivetrain components ready to bolt back into the car. This is a favorite part of my job.
Now, this was kind of a unique car in as much as all we did was the body and the paint work on it. Our job was not to build the engine, the transmission, the rear end. The owner chose to do that himself. And he did a good job. I mean, overall, I'm not saying anything at all disparaging. It's just that if you were to slow the camera down a little bit and look closely, there's just a few detailing items, but they don't matter to him, they don't matter to me. I didn't get paid to do it. I just want to point that out. Our job was to install that drivetrain once the body and paint was done, so he'd have an easy, safe way to get the car transported home. One of the best parts of my job is watching these cars transform from what they were when they came in to what they look like when they leave. And everybody knows I don't like to brag about stuff like that, but I mean, literally, this shop is taking cars that are absolute garbage in some cases, nothing really left, very little redeeming value or quality to them, and bringing them back to life. Look back through my original photos before we even got the cameras rolling on it, and look at the dire straits that car was in. And now, look at it as it gets this drivetrain in it, and we start putting the final pieces on it. It's a beautiful, looks new FM3 Moulin Rouge 70 Cuda. So yeah, I think I've earned the name Ice Tray. I don't think I just self-dubbed, I think I've earned it. I don't even know what it means, except that Eddie Murphy played a character named Ice Tray in Showtime. Spelled the same way. Showtime! You replay Mr. Ganda.
So Mark and I have been working on these cars since we were 16 years old. We have so much experience with these cars, we know exactly what we're going to do. It's just routine for us. We can almost anticipate each other's moves. Who's going to do this, who's going to do that. We just go with the flow. It's wonderful to be able to work together this well.
So this car is just a paint and body. I'm not going to put the entire car together. We are going to be installing all the glass except for the windshield. So that means the roof rails have to be installed so we can adjust the height of the quarter glass and the door glass to each other so they don't go up too high. The headliner has to be installed so we can set the back glass in. I agree with Mark. Seeing the Moulin Rouge on this car, it's just awesome to see a completely different color come through this shop. The glass mechanism is a bunch of different things. We got the window run channels, we got the regulators, and 100 different fasteners that have to be installed in these doors. All of these things have to work in unison with each other to make sure that the fitment is good and the window can roll up and down with ease. It's great to see the door glass and the quarter glass fit together really good like they were supposed to from the factory. So I'm getting ready to put the hockey stick stripe on the Moulin Rouge 70 Cuda. I only have one set of these decals and only one day to get this done because this car leaves tomorrow.
One of the last things we do on these cars after the assembly is the graphic installation. So as everybody knows, we get our stuff from Phoenix Graphics. They're fresh cuts for us. We always insist on that so that they go on. They're not old, they're not brittle, they're not dried out. They'll fit the way that they're supposed to fit. A lot of people talk about NOS decals. Well, NOS decals are great to brag about, but not to put on a car. A nice fresh one, that's the one you want to put on the car. Now, in the old days, I used to have to do all of the graphics. I tried desperately hard to teach Alyssa and Will take the baton and run to the finish line, but they didn't. They dropped the baton. There was no finish line for them. But now I got Justin, so I handed off the hockey stick graphic to him, and I know he'll do a great job.
So the process of putting the decal is no different on this car than any other car that we do. It's getting the hockey stick stripe. You got the application gel, you got the tack cloth, you got the backing paper, and you got the squeegee. So before I put the decal on, I clean the surface really good with a cleaner, and then I run a tack cloth over it. After you do the tack cloth, you know there is the application gel, or there's another trick that you can do where you do some dish soap and then you mix it with some water. And then you can put that in a spray ball and you spray that on, which is really great. So we make sure we got the measurements right and everything's lined up good. And then you set that decal on there and you just kind of set it right in place. And then you use your squeegee, work from the inside and work your way to the outside of the decals. And then you can come back about an hour later, I give it, and then you can peel it right off. So wherever you set your first decal, wherever it is in space on that quarter, you have to make sure the other side matches that side, so everything is in space and where it needs to be. Man, it just starts to pop, doesn't it? Wow. Let's get a 340 on there. And then this side is done. My favorite part of the hockey stick is the engine call out, which is an H code, which is a 340. The only color that you could get in the hockey stick stripe was glossy black. So if you see anybody else out there with a white decal, red decal, that's actually completely aftermarket and somebody customized that and got that put on their car. I just finished putting the hockey stick stripes on the 1970 Cuda. It went smooth. It had to go smooth because we only had one set and the customer will be here tomorrow. Hopefully when Mark gets back, he can check it out, sign it off, and it's ready for the customer.
That little decal, that little V6X black hockey stick stripe just sets off the car on a 70 Cuda. If it wasn't a haphazard design. It flows with the quarter panel and follows the style line into the door. It really punches the sexiness of the quarter panels in the door and the style lines on a 70 Cuda.
This car was very rewarding. Not only was it like my dream car, almost exactly, the car came out great. From the metal department, the body guys, the cut and buff guys, everyone did a great job. I love the pink. It's just, you don't see it. And the fact that's what Mopar did in the 70s is absolutely insane. What guy wants a pink muscle car? So the rarity of it on top of what car it is, by far my favorite, and I was excited to be able to do it. Some reveals, you know, we do big shows. Some people just don't want it. They just want their car back.
Some folks can't wait to get in here and look at it and maybe be part of the filming. These folks weren't necessarily that way. They were more behind the scenes people.
In this circumstance, we didn't do a big reveal. But when you do a car that's body and paint only, that's all you have to look at. And he couldn't be happier, which makes me super happy. And it's another car out of here.
At the end of the day, we get to work on the greatest cars ever made, and we have an amazing team working here. And making someone's dream come true is just the icing on the cake, and I'm just blessed to be a part of this.
So the folks that own this car are going to be so thrilled with this car when they take it home. I know they're going to love this forever. I know I would.
He brought his daughter down, who is actually getting the car. It's going to be her car, so good job for her. She's very excited. It really is a wonderful reward to see that trailer going down the road and knowing that we brought another dead car back to life, and in a fantastic way. And that's why I do what I do. For the love of the car, the love of the owners, and to see those cars come back to life. Hello ghouls, Mark Warman here, the Ice Tree from Graveyard Carz. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like it, drop a comment down below, and subscribe to our channel. We have fantastic stuff coming up, and some of it you've never seen before. I gotta go insult people. Hey Alice!